Hello.
Hello.
This is Stuart Bentley BSC. Shot We Live in Time. There's no need to introduce Stu.
Thank you. Hello.
And I'm Ula Pontikos,
BSC.
also BSC. We're going to talk about the movie, beautiful movie, We Live in Time. I'm just going to introduce Stu of what we know. Stu has, I found it on his website. It's not on your website, but it's on the website. Stu got a skateboard for his 12th birthday, and with a friend's high-8 camera, he began making skateboarding videos. After a decade of traveling the world, making skate films with his friends, he progressed into music videos and documentaries, eventually landing a spot at the prestigious NFTS.
Where we met.
Stu's career since had led him to work on BAFTA, Emmy, and Academy Award-winning projects. Also, one of them was a short film you did with Anil Karia.
Mm-hmm.
The Long Goodbye, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's been shown at major film festivals around the world. Stu worked on projects like This Is England with Shane Meadows, 2 episodes of Black Mirror, and Dominic Savage's I Am, as well as John Crowley's Life After Life. And he shot 10 feature films. We Live in Time, really emotional film, tackling sort of things we know very well of. But John Crowley has been known to work with a lot of finest cinematographers. He worked with Rob Hardy, a BSc, and Roger Deakins, BSc. But this is your 3rd collaboration with John.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to find out, how did you start working together? How did it happen?
Yeah. So John and I first worked together about 5 years ago on a mini-series called Life After Life. I was sent the scripts by my agent and had a meeting with John, which went really well. And we sort of had, I guess, like similar ideas and similar references and, similar outlooks on how the film was going to be, on how the show was going to be, and kind of the visual approach and stuff. And then, I was offered the job, and it went well. It went really well, which was great. And we sort of developed a really good working relationship. And then,
so what was it? Was it a TV series?
So it was a TV series. It was a mini-series, 4-part mini-series. And yeah, great cast and, really interesting script.
Well, in a way, there was some similarities because it was it was very non-linear.
Yeah. So it kind of jumped between timelines. So it was like a really interesting. I mean, it was one of those things where I really enjoyed it and I'm really proud of it. And it was obviously amazing to meet John. I don't think it ever kind of like hit in the way that some TV shows do. It was quite dark and it was quite challenging, I think. But I'm really proud of it, and it's a piece of work that I really love, and I think.
Dark in a form of storytelling or dark?
Yeah, very dark sort of subject matter and not visually dark. I mean, maybe in places, but just some very heavy sequences and light in places, like a really nice breadth of emotions and range. But
then you and John went to space.
Then we went to space on Black Mirror, which was great. So yeah, on Life After Life, it was just, we had a great working relationship, and it was a really good shoot, and we got on really well. And I think it was quite a long shoot, and we were quite challenging, as they all are. And then about a year later, he called me to shoot an episode of Black Mirror, which was great, and it was a brilliant sort of period piece set in the 60s in rural. New England and Los Angeles, and then in space. So it's like 3 really interesting sort of visual landscapes to explore. And obviously the spaceship set was just amazing. It was like a dream, like to go in there and like this huge big set that was just amazing and really good fun. So again, we had a really good shoot, and that went really well. And just had a
technically very challenging.
Technically
you talked
really
about wireworks and
technically really
zero
challenging.
gravity.
Yeah, exactly. So we did a lot of sort of space stuff, which was wire rigs and green screen, and we shot in Twickenham Studios. So for those of you that know Twickenham Studios, it's the main studio that we shot in, which was amazing actually, because we were in there and that Beatles documentary just got released, and we were like, wow, we're filming in the same place at that Beatles. You know, it's like seeing all the old archive footage.
What was the name of the documentary? I keep forgetting it.
I can't actually remember. But it's like
Get Back.
Yeah. So it's quite
like 10 hours of sitting.
Which was really interesting. And then, but anyway, it's like a small stage basically. So you know, we had this huge set, which they were all like, oh, it's the biggest set we've ever built on Black Mirror. So it's this massive, long, cylindrical set. And then we had to build like space around the outside of it. So they had these like bits of exterior spaceship set, which we did like set extensions on. And so it's a really interesting mixture of heavy emotional, you know, deeply challenging like emotional sequences, but then really complicated technical set extensions, green screen, visual effects. So it was a really nice balance for everyone, you know, for me and all of the sort of heads of department to kind of get our teeth stuck into, I guess. And that was really good. And again, we had a great shoot. And then I'm not sure how long after that was, but it was Christmas.
It wasn't that long.
It was maybe 6 months later or something. John got in touch just before Christmas with the script for We Live in Time. And Andrew was attached at that point, and I was, thrilled to get the script first and foremost. And obviously the opportunity to work with John again was really exciting. And it's obviously a really emotionally challenging film, but then I guess like the other stuff I've done with John, it's got that lightness and it's that really interesting balance of stuff that's really heavy and really challenging, but then trying to bring that lightness to it as well. So that was obviously a real draw for me, and yeah, the chance to work with John, and then obviously Andrew Garfield was on board, and they were like, oh, Florence Pugh, it's gone out to Florence Pugh, and you're like, okay, of course, I'm desperate to shoot this. And then January came and it was quiet, and they were like, well, it's gone to Florence, we're waiting for Florence, and then February came and we were still waiting on Florence, and I'm like, oh my God, like I'm absolutely skinned.
So by that time,
yeah, I'm like, oh my God, I really want to shoot this film, and then there's other projects coming in, and it's like, you know, like I like DPs, those you like, you know the game. It's like you're waiting and waiting, and it's like you're gambling. You're like, I'm gambling on, I'm backing We Live in Time, but like, not that there was like loads and loads and loads of stuff coming in, but there's other stuff that you're like, I could be doing this and I could be shooting, and We Live in Time may never happen, you know. And then next thing you know, Florence is on board. The next day we're in the minibus, you know, doing laps of the M25, trying to find locations, and it's literally just like, you know, hit the ground running, 5 weeks, 6 weeks of prep, you know, there's literally no time at all.
For how many locations?
I mean, there was like thousands of locations.
Thousands.
You know. I mean, you know, loads of locations, set builds, difficult stuff with the babies, and the whole sequence at the end where we had to build this entire event space, which was really complex, and the countryside house was like a really hard space to nail because it had to feel kind of, you can tell I've been doing commercials too much because I hate this word, aspirational. It had to feel aspirational, but it had to feel like, you know, it's like they've moved up in the world and they've gone to this like nice place in the countryside, and but not too nice. So it's like getting that balance and somewhere that worked practically, that we could black out and you know.
So were you part of choosing the location? Because quite often the director will make sort of a soft prep and then pre-chooses the location, and then hopefully will talk to cinematographer, or sometimes they don't.
They don't. Yeah. No. I mean, that's what I think. You know, I feel really fortunate to have been working with John, because he's so collaborative and so, you know, he's so engaged with everybody, and he really trusts these heads of department to kind of do their work, and everything is a really collaborative process, and he kind of guides the ship very gently and very sensitively and incredibly, you know, it's a real privilege to work with him. But at the same time, we go and look at these locations, and there's like 3 or 4 front runners for the countryside house, and it's like, okay, there's obviously that process of elimination where you're like, well, this one doesn't work because it's too small, or this doesn't work because the kitchen doesn't flow into this space, or this, you know, and then you're trying to do that jigsaw where in prep you're like, well, maybe they don't need to walk through that. You know, you obviously see loads of different versions, and it's just that trial and error and process of elimination, isn't it, where you're like, this feels really good. I mean, I think there's things about that house that I think, of course, you're like, it was an 8 out of 10, you know, it was an 8.5 out of 10. Like, there's bits that you're like, could have been slightly different in some ways. Like, some of the corridors were really difficult to shoot in, and some of the kind of, the physicality of it was quite hard, like lots of layering. So it was like trying to get lights in certain angles. Like we had to build a road actually. So we had to like build an entire road to put the unit base in and to put a cherry picker in for one scene. So we had to build this entire road with like trackway and knock down all this like rubble and go all the way down into the bit behind the garden basically. And then the scene at night when he's putting the flyers in the bin that Linda Wu shot some of. I'm not sure, she's probably not here, but she shot some of that. But that was a big machine that we had to like really fight quite hard to figure out how to get that in there. You know, it's tricky.
So how do you work with choosing the locations? Do you ever say, I'm not talking about this project, but just in general, do you ever say, no, it's just not going to work? Or do you try to figure out?
I think you always, you know, there's value in every location, and I think it's like being alive to that, and I think they can present themselves with things that you'd never expected, and you're like, oh, well, this is actually loads better than I thought. And, you know, I've also experienced it, like I'm sure many of us have, where you like fall in love with the location, you do the lighting plans, you get it all together, and then a week before the shoot, it falls through for whatever reason. You know, it's like the owners have decided to pull out, or it's, you know, something's happened. Like
it's really hard when you've got like so set on the location.
Yeah.
And then
so it's like I always try to not get too attached to anything until you're actually there. You know, it's like when you're actually there, you can you know, we're going to really get into this, but. I think it's like a really interesting challenge, isn't it? And I love that bit about it. It's like going into the location with your script and John, and thinking, okay, if I'm the actor, where am I going for this, and what's my journey? And obviously, sometimes that's just totally on the page. It's like they walk from the bedroom to the living room to the da-da. So it's like, okay, well, that's the journey. Maybe that doesn't work, but maybe that doesn't matter. Maybe we can cut from here to here, and we can cut, you know, like loads of stuff in here is like total hatchet jobs of like. Tent to non-tent to night to non-night, this,
wow.
that, you know, baby kids hours,
yeah.
and the scene where he comes in with the they've got the candles on the floor. Remember the Steadicam operator Doug is like, I was like, it's quite a simple shot, Doug, and then he's like walking backwards over fire with a Steadicam like this, like he's like, I thought you said it was going to be an easy shot, Stu. But like, you know, fire
was being burned.
Yeah, like setting on fire and stuff. But that was like tented. You know, so you're right, I can't even remember what we did now, you know. But it's like, you tent the front, she comes in, it's day for night, that's all day for night, and then the actual proposal was night, and I mean, it's boring. But that's the kind of boring bit, it's like, how do you...
But did you have to break it over a few days? Or
Yeah.
So
a lot of stuff is like broken out, broken up on the same day. So it's like, okay, we start that scene in the morning, but the morning is actually the afternoon because it's a split day. So we start that scene at, let's say, 1 o'clock.
But then you shoot continuously.
You shoot continuously, yeah. I mean, we'd very, very rarely shoot one scene over 2 days because obviously you want to complete the scene, right? So it's like the actors are in it, and you always like, you want to make that day or that afternoon or that hour, that's the scene, you know. Very rarely would we put it onto the next day, but quite often you're like straddling day and night because of just the way that the location, the way that the schedule's been pushed into such a corner that you can't claw back, you know.
So how many days did you have to shoot?
I think it was 30.
Okay. And
31.
That's including Rome?
That's Rome, which was amazing. Because it was all Steadicam, and I just got to eat ice cream and just sort of float about. It was amazing.
now that's why you've got a personal trainer.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Went for like nice dinners, and no, it was really good. But yeah, it was 30 odd days. So we did a day. We did obviously a recce in Rome and it was quite amazing landing in Rome Airport with Florence and going through the gates, and the whole of Rome Airport, every single bit of every single wall was the new whatever Versace campaign. We just heard it everywhere.
Oh, really?
And it was like,
that's
oh
hilarious.
my God, like, you know.
It's like an episode of Black Mirror.
Yeah, she's like blushing and like running through basically. It's like, wow. But yeah, it was good 30 days. So it was tight, you know, it was really tight. And we lost Florence for 5 days because she went to the Met Gala ball for some film that she'd done. So
5 days, right, you said?
Yeah, and then we had to...
Considering she was pretty much in most of the scenes.
Yeah.
You used a lot of body double, you said.
So we did like all the stuff with Andrew, and we did all the stuff. I mean, the schedule was so chaotic because we also had like hair, you know, pre-head shave, post-head shave. We had an amazing hair and makeup artist who did all of the wigs, like the best wigs in the world, basically. So a lot of that is wigged. A lot of it is wigged.
I mean,
with maybe little,
so tricky
unbelievable,
to do, right.
and with like little VFX touch-ups here and there, but generally not much VFX work, but for that stuff.
But she cut her hair
before
for real in the scene, right?
Yeah, terrifying. Probably the most terrifying thing I've ever filmed, actually.
So you said that you used some special contraption for it?
Yeah, I shot that on a 3D rig.
I have no idea. So we had a little prep before, but I didn't even want to ask Stu what the heck and why. Why?
Because, you know, that scene's coming up, you know, it's on the horizon, and you're like, okay, we're filming Florence Pugh shaving her head for real, and we've got one go at it. You know, we can't reshoot that. It's done. It's a one-take deal.
Well, fair.
But
not using two cameras?
Well, we wanted to shoot a single camera because we wanted, like, you've seen the scene, it's like very fluid, and it's, you know, there's a child actor in there who, you know, John had a very sort of light touch there, and it was like there were a lot of that was just natural playfulness, you know, so it's like semi-improvised. You know, you can tell it's like they were so good together, and it was like, of course, John is again like guiding that, but there's moments that are just magic where they're talking to each other and playing, and she's got the box, and it's all just like improv basically. So that's just responding handheld, you know, like the I Am and the This Is England stuff. It's like going back to that type of work where it's like you just clear the floor of anything, and it's 360, you know, and it's like because you want to be where the action is, and you want to look into the sky, and so two cameras just felt like crazy to me to do that. And, you know, I really like to operate handheld, so it felt like I want to be in the zone of them. But I was also really nervous because the Alexa 35 had only just come out, and I was probably overly paranoid, but I was like, if something happens with the card, so it's like the card gets corrupted, you know, which can happen.
Oh, wow, yeah,
then,
it did
like,
happen to me once.
It's game over, you know.
Yeah.
And it's happened to me, yeah, where it's like, okay, we've lost that clip. And it's like, you can't lose that clip. So I thought and in prep, and then, so I was like, well, let's shoot it on a 3D rig. So we had two Alexa 35s, whatever it is, like that. And
so that was for safety. So you were shooting the same.
so shooting two cameras, same lenses, same focal length, same stop, same everything.
But you didn't have to line it up.
Two focus pullers. Yeah, I think we did line it up. So it's the same shot.
Yeah,
it's exactly the same shot. So it's just two of the same takes, basically.
Right.
But the problem was that the 3D rig was basically about as big as this chair. So you're like doing a handheld take, and it's just going on and on and on and on and on, and you're like, by 25 minutes in, you're just like melting.
Super uneven.
Yeah, it was so brutal. It was, you know, an absolute brutal workout, but it was good, and I think
Did you have a grip supporting?
Yeah, and you know, little apple boxes here and there, but amazingly, obviously the footage was fine, and it was a relief, and it was great, and I mean, I really loved that scene. The next day, one of the cards corrupted, so it was like, you know, it kind of like validated that decision, I guess. But yeah, that was that. That was the 3D rig. So they could make that scene 3D if they wanted to. You know, just one scene in the film, just mix it up a bit.
Now put on the 3D glasses.
Yeah. Wow! And like Florence starts coming towards the camera.
It could work with the hair.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
it is beautiful, and it's very clever to be shooting two cameras at the same time.
I mean, probably completely unnecessary and total overkill. But, you know, it was just one of those things where you're like, there's just no way that we can go back to this. And, you know, for me, I kind of saw it as a stunt. You're like, this is like a stunt, you know. And you would not dream of, well, maybe you would, but, you know, obviously most stunts, it's like, okay, if you can, and that's the style you're going for, you might get 2 or 3 cameras on there to maximise the material. So it's like, I just kind of...
Do you have like an easy rig, or is it all handheld?
No, just handheld, just handheld. Because I don't really get on with easy rigs, so it's just, yeah. But it was pretty unpleasant.
I really would like to hear the sound footage from it. So obviously you and John have a shorthand doing 2 projects together. You know, we sort of touched upon the prep, but I would be curious, how do you prep with actors? And obviously this is extremely intimate story. There is a birth, there is treatments, you know, a lot of emotions, a lot of intimacy. How do you work with actors? How do you operate? You know, we touched upon you working with Shane Meadows and Dominic Savage, and how do you take this sort of aesthetics into a film, and how do you use a conventional, you know, where do you marry your conventional sort of type of filmmaking?
I think, you know, I think for me over the years, you know, like you say, having done those projects with those directors, and invariably they're very emotional and very heavy, and it takes a lot from the cast. You know, it's a really heavy emotional performance that they're bringing to the table. So I think, having done that, you kind of realise increasingly that I felt like you know, first and foremost, like, you just have to have like total self-awareness. So you have to be aware of where you are in the room, you have to be aware of eye lines, you have to be aware of like every single detail, like what you're wearing, what's on the camera, what the crew are doing. Like I've got an amazing crew on this that I work with a lot, and they're hyper-focused, and no one's on their phone, no one's talking, no one's in the room for a start. So it's like, you clear the space, you clear the set, you don't put any lights in, and instead of trying to kind of force your ideas on a scene, like, this is how it's going to be and it's going to look like this, you respond to the actor. It's like, you've got these two amazing actors that are like some of the best in the world, and it's like, you don't need the visuals to do much to kind of elevate that. For me, like, I feel like there's so much power in capturing that in a raw way that you don't, you know, it feels like completely counterintuitive to me to try and stamp my like visual like identity on it or something, because you're like, they're just doing the most amazing work. And of course, there's ways that you can make it more aesthetically pleasing, like your decision of where you put the camera in relation to the light source, or what focal length you use, or all those other things that we all know as DPs. But I think, first and foremost, it's just about being aware of the atmosphere in the room, and like responding to that, and just being very quiet and very respectful and mindful of them and their process. And then gently it builds, and you know, you start shooting, and then it kind of grows, and just watching their movements and responding to their movements, and like watching, just being hyper alert, you know, and seeing what kind of headspace they're in the morning. And
so do you keep the floor?
Yeah, so the floor is
empty
like
as
totally clear,
right,
and the set is completely
so it's pretty
clear.
much on all the scenes?
Yeah, so a lot of it. I mean, there's obviously scenes in there that are like lit, for, you know, like where we light the faces, and that was the interesting challenge in this, because in some ways, not that there was any pressure from like some execs or something, but it's like, you want to make them look like good, whatever good is. Like, you want to light them and make them look beautiful, and you know, you want it to pop in a way that's interesting and you know, gives it a layer of beauty. Like, you want to elevate it, but then at the same time, there's this kind of slightly raw naturalism to it. So that was like a kind of interesting blend of trying to get the two. So it's like, you don't want the glossy stuff to be like hyper glossy, and you don't want the raw stuff to be like too raw. So it was like trying to find some sort of coherent thread amongst that, which is, you know, lighting choices, colour and grade, and you know, and all the different things that you can bring together to like make that feel coherent. But a lot of the stuff was total clearance in the set. So you know, the scene where Andrew breaks the pen, for example, which is a minute-long scene, that went on for like 20 minutes. You know, so he's pacing up and down the room, he's like looking under the bed, he's doing all this stuff, he's sat in the corner, and I didn't know what he's going to do, and it's all, you know, but you just respond to that, and it's like, so you just clear the set, all the crew in the corridor, you know, or in the next room next door, and you just go for it, you know. But then you know that, okay, I've got some nice dusk in the window, that we just put some gel up, you know, it's a really overcast day, so it's like, we'll just put some CTB up, it's really nice and interesting, and some warm pracs, and you're like, I know pretty much if I shoot towards that, it's just going to look interesting, and narratively that's really nice, because it's like, he's making this journey from day to night, and there's something quite kind of evocative about that. So, yeah, I'm just kind of rambling a bit.
But it's interesting, because it's like on your next project, which you've just done, grading, we're talking about risk, sort of going to, so Stu just finished grading Hamlet, and I was lucky enough to visit one of the sets, which was pretty incredible. But it was the same sort of very similar principle, is that you allow actors again to occupy the set, and I think part of your challenge and your talent is to facilitate and being able to light the scene in a way and hide the lights. You know, you talked about Barry Ackroyd being one of your influences, and I remember from Camera Image once, it was during the time when they did just really interesting Q&As, and they had Ken Loach and Barry Ackroyd coming together and hiding practicals or hiding different lights in sets, so actors can be lit. And that was before the
before digital.
Before making everything on desks and wires.
Yeah.
But did you have? I mean, there was a massive scene within the competition. How did you approach that as well? This is just entirely different.
Yeah, that was quite a big one. So Alice, the designer, who was amazing, and her team did a lot of research into the. I mean, I'd never heard of it, but it's a big international cooking event. So it's like the kind of Oscars for cooking. It's like a huge, big, very splashy international cooking event, probably in like Geneva or something. And they have these big kind of corporate settings. So yeah, we looked at loads of references and we looked at loads of archive of that, and then it was like trying to again match that, but kind of slightly elevate it a bit. So we found locations found this aircraft hangar in somewhere deep west, and they turned it into a real life thing. So we had to get all of the people from this Bocuse d'Or on board, which is like a really complex challenge for them to get all the sign off and the branding and the people from the different countries. And it's a lot of work there. And then obviously we had to then light that. So it was like, but knowing that a lot of those lights are going to be in vision. So we had like a lot of like Mac 10s, they call, like a lot of moving the headlights basically. So it's like stuff that could be spinning around and like, so because we wanted it to feel like very dynamic and exciting and kind of like Eurovision style when she comes in. So it's like, which they do. So it's like, we had loads of moving lights and loads of like, so we basically prepped that with the desktop, Kev, and he programmed it. And we did that big long Steadicam oneer, and it was like, choreographed a really nice move where we come around the corner and the backlight hits the lens and you get that moment, and then we have something else hitting the fire, and so that was a really nicely choreographed sequence that everything's like hitting certain cues.
So this one was sort of in a much more vein of a traditional.
Yeah, but then at the same time, like you're cutting wide and like everything's kind of lit, and then when the competition starts. But what was great, obviously, is you've just got total flexibility with those lights. So you're shooting the cooking scene, and you're like, can we just take this light? We had a floor plan. Can we just take this light, and we'll just bounce it in here, and then Florence just gets this amazing. And you're like, I mean, it's so amazing now, isn't it? You're like, can you just make that a bit warmer, a bit CTO? And then she just gets this amazing like golden glow in her eyes from the bounce from the chrome work surface, And then you don't have to have anything on the floor. So it's like, okay, I want to see Florence, but then I want to also see someone else, and I want to see Florence, and then I want to see someone in the crowd. So it's like that one light is doing all the work, basically. And then obviously for some of the big emotional stuff, then it's like, okay, we want to really get something nice and soft in her eyes. So then we bring something in, like a octodome or something, big T-bar, big soft key. And then what's, I think, quite successful is like a big chunk of that end sequence is a reshoot. So we had to rebuild that in a room like half the size of this.
So why was it?
Because they did a test screening. They did a test screening in America, and they were like, so basically the original one is that she gets to the thing, she starts the cooking, and as soon as she starts, she's like, I'm out of here, I don't want to do this. Oh. And the thought was, it's like they wanted it to feel like a kind of sports move, like like a championship match. It's like she wins the thing, or she at least competes in the thing to such a level. She completes it, and she achieves it, and she achieves what she wants to set out to do, and then she can like draw a line under it and move on.
I must say it makes sense, because she makes such a big speech to him.
Yeah.
That
so it's like,
that she wants to be remembered by.
Yeah. And kind of retrospectively, like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But obviously when you're shooting it and you're wrapped up in it, it's only when they got into the edit they were like, this maybe feels like it needs a bit more. So then, obviously, by this point, 8 months later, Florence's hair is like long. So
and she just does not want to cut it again.
No, because she can't, because she's on a film.
Oh.
So she's like, we have to put a bald wig on top of hair, which is never very successful. And we had to make that set, but a totally smaller version of it. And, obviously they had very little money left at that point. So it's like, how can we use creative decisions to like, take the background out and we had like this shot with Andrew where he's with his daughter, and like a lot of that, most of that is all pickups, and the people behind, I don't think they could track them down, so it's like we had to like change their faces. I mean, there was all sorts of madness, like so much VFX work that you probably hopefully would never know, but like so many wig shots that we were in post signing off.
So this is a head wig into a bald wig. No, it's a bald wig onto hair, hair, whatever.
It's a hair head. It's a hair non-hair situation.
Right.
Yeah.
Very good. So
hair for hair. It's like day for night.
Excellent.
How long have we got? We'll just keep talking for the retro.
I do have a couple of questions, but maybe we should open it up to the audience. Does anyone have any questions for Stu? And I was instructed to ask for speaking to the mic. Anybody?
Nothing. Oh, here we go.
Oh yeah, there is a question.
Hello.
Oh, hold on.
Oh, yeah.
I was.
Hi. Beautiful film, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Was there a discussion around the final scene and why you didn't have a long, drawn-out death scene? I was very happy that there wasn't one.
Yeah.
And I felt like you respected us enough and we were mature enough to skip past all of that. But I just wondered if there was a conversation around that and why it was important to only show, what you did.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there was never that conversation. I mean, I don't know if that was ever in a version of the script, but I certainly never saw a version of that or had any discussions about that. And I think it was, it's sort of testament to John and his skill as a director that, like, you infer that information categorically, like you understand that she's gone. And yet it's quite a sort of abstract sequence, really. They're ice skating. I mean, obviously you kind of get it at the end with the dog and they're on their own, but I think it's just so much more stimulating as an audience that way, and I think it makes you, even if it's just for like a fraction of a second, it makes you think, doesn't it? And I think that's what's interesting, of course, with films. It's like something that can challenge you and make you think and make you question what's going on. I think that's the key to cinema, really, isn't it? And I think that's like, hopefully, I think it is successful, and I think it's like, it's really tender and moving, and that bit at the end where they're like drifting away is so sad and like, poignant.
Well, we also talked about how we choose projects, and we talk about projects which sort of change us. And you wanted to talk about, the emotional side of projects like that.
Yeah, it was hard. I mean, of course, it was like really tricky, and I think, we like a lot of us, like there has been a lot of that stuff going on in my life at the time, and it was really hard. Like, it was a really hard, and I knew when I read it, I was like, oh my God, like, I'm gonna have to really gear myself up for this, because, had a really heavy time of it with that stuff. And I think there was some days where it was just like, oh my God, I can't deal with this, and it was like every day, like, you just see people like dropping like flies, like going around the back and like, I mean, I went to the scene in the car park, it was like day 3, and I was just like, oh my God, I remember going around the back of this flag and just like crying my eyes out. I was just like, but obviously that again is just testament to like what amazing actors they are, because you're like looking through the viewfinder and you're just like, I'm just totally in it. I'm just totally believe them, and I totally am engaged with this. And it's like, it reminds me of my best mate or my dad or my thing, and it's like all these memories start coming back, and you're just like...
So how do you, so you operate, you obviously are very, in the scene.
Yeah.
Do you cry behind the camera?
Yeah, I don't mind admitting that.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable admitting that. I have done, yeah, of course. Like, of course. Oh my God, on that. You're like, of course. It's like,
I think it's impossible not to.
It's,
I always thought it's like
No.
I shot a movie where the producer and myself were constantly in tears.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, okay, this.
But then also there's scenes where you're like laughing out loud,
Yeah.
like obviously you don't laugh, but like when the baby's being born and Andrew's like, there's a face, and you're right in his face, and it's like, it's hysterical, and there's scenes in it that are like really funny. So it's like,
How long did it take you to shoot that birthing scene?
I think it was. I mean, that was really complicated.
Because obviously there's a
studio.
tunnel, and then there is a cubicle, and so
the cubicle is a studio.
Yeah.
So we had to find. This was a real challenge in prep. Actually, we had to find a location that was a tunnel, or in fact not a tunnel, a road that we could close at night.
Which then became a
It had
tunnel.
to be in Croydon, weirdly, because
Right.
of something that we were doing around Croydon. So we had to find it in South or Southeast London. It was a road that we could close down at night that led directly onto a petrol station that we could also close at night. So that was really challenging, weirdly, to find. And it obviously had to be the right type of petrol station, because the petrol station also had to have a corridor, and then it had to have a door into a disabled toilet, which surprisingly was incredibly hard to find. So we found that great tunnel. But the problem with the tunnel... Oh, we've got to go. No. Sorry.
No?
I thought you were just looking at order or something. Sorry, I saw a ghost. The tunnel we could only lock down for 2 minutes. So we had precision drivers in all those cars, and we had the camera on a crane at the end. We got the shot, and then all the cars had to go move, pull into a lay-by, release the traffic. Traffic comes out. All the cars reverse back in.
So it's 2 minutes of a shooting time.
2 minutes of shooting time,
and then
it's like 5 minutes for traffic to get through.
Oh my god!
Cars come back in, on marks, and then you're like, we've got to get the dolly into the road. So you've got to run the dolly into the road, line the shot up, put some lights up, shoot the shot, get out, pull the dolly off the road, back it in. I mean, it was chaos. And then
how many times did you do this?
I mean, that was that and the bit when they're outside leaving was a night. And then we did, I can't even think what we did now. All of the interior stuff was day for night, tented. And then the studio is like, the corridor exists in the petrol station in Croydon, but then we rebuilt that corridor in the studio and had a green screen at the end when you see the
so you connected the location from the fridges to the...
Exactly, because the bathroom needed to be a studio because we had...
Yeah, it was just logistically and
babies,
intimacy and so on.
And obviously you can't do that in a petrol station in Croydon at 2 a.m. You know, I mean, maybe you can, but who knows?
Well, it's clearing everybody out.
But that was it. That was so intense, you know. And I was just sat. I mean, I was literally just sat on the toilet with a camera, and there's Florence Pugh in you know, no clothes with this prosthetic thing on and babies, and then you're just like, I'm just trapped in this corner, and you're like, I just can't move. You can't get out because there's like babies everywhere, and like, you know, you're like intimacy coordinators, and you're like, oh, and that was why that scene, you know, going back to keeping things simple, it was like top lights on, headset on, and just like, okay, let's just take this one down 5%. You know, it's super simple. Like, never had anything on the floor, never had any. So
how do you light? Obviously how do you check the lighting?
Just with my eyes, really.
So the eyes.
Yeah.
And do you have a monitor, or do you go through?
Use the camera in my eyes, really.
Right.
And then we had like, because she gets all these like towels out and things. So I was like, let's put a white towel underneath Florence, so she gets this really nice like bounce light in her eyes, basically. Mm-hmm. And that was about as much lighting as I did on that one. So it's quite simple.
Any more questions?
Was there any consideration early on to shoot this on film, or what made the decision?
Yeah, we did talk about that, but I really hate shooting on film. So no, I don't really. I'm joking. No, I'm joking. I love shooting on film, but it just wasn't there in the budget, and we couldn't. You know, I think it's the kind of thing these days where if it's locked in the budget and there's a line for it, like very early on, then yeah, that conversation's going to be had. But it was so tight, we just couldn't really make it work, basically.
But it looks and feels amazing.
Oh, thank you so much. And I was also really keen.
So you was Alexa 35,
Alexa
and
35.
What lenses did you use?
So we got the kit, as I said very kindly, from Panavision, which is great, and we got the P Vintage lenses, which are like, you know, what was great is they're really small and lightweight for handheld stuff. They've got an amazing range, like super comprehensive focal range, and yeah, they're just really nice. They're like got a little bit of sort of magic, you know, little flares here and there. Like I love the flare when she's looking back at her daughter in the car, and you just get this little kick of a flare. Yeah. This kind of rainbow, gorgeous thing going on.
That car moment was so sort of perfectly timed.
I mean.
And how did you do the step printing effect for the time in love?
Oh yeah, that was fun. The sort of Christopher Doyle moment. Yeah, I can't really remember. We set the camera to 6 frames or something. Mm-hmm. But it was that thing where it's like, you know, you're trying to somehow express this feeling of like fragmented memory and kind of inject some dynamic kind of visual element to it that makes it kind of contrast with the kind of mundane spaces like the waiting room and the, you know, hospitals and stuff. So it's like, what's the opposite of that? Like, what's the opposite of something that's bright and ambiently lit and fluorescent? Like, it's a really atmospheric, slightly expressionistic kind of camera that's flying around, and there's a really nice moment. I mean, it's like 2 frames of Florence in the bathroom that I just love. It's like a really quick heartbeat of just her face, and I just love how it kind of, it just feels really evocative of kind of that, you know, fragments of memories, I guess, in a way. So yeah, I like that stuff. It's good.
And there was another question. this gentleman there, and then somebody there.
Beautifully shot, Stu. Really, really
Oh,
beautiful. I mean,
thank
what really struck me, apart from how aesthetically beautiful the frames were, and how each frame contributed narratively to the film, obviously they do, but was just how much care was in every frame. And it was just, I was quite emotional looking at some of the shots.
Yeah.
What do you attribute, because it doesn't sound like you had a lot of schedule, what do you attribute to getting such beautiful, every frame so beautiful?
Oh, thank you. Well, that's very sweet.
Where's the biggest influence, in that process for you? Is it just meticulous planning?
Yeah, it's that sort of combination, isn't it, of like planning, but then being like present and alive to like opportunities on the day, and like just being constantly like really switched on to watching. It's like from the very first second of the day, it's like just absolutely present and watching and just seeing what the cast are doing. And obviously we've got amazing sets, amazing locations, amazing team around you, and it's kind of, you prep as thoroughly as you can and prep as in as much detail as you can, but then I always like to be really prepared to just completely throw that out the window and like respond to something on the day and not be like absolutely, tuned in to those original plans, because as we all know, like on a film set, things change at such a rapid pace, and it's kind of like madness to just stick with one idea. So I think, I don't know really. I mean, it's just nice sets and nice people and, good times really.
There's somebody.
Yeah, I think touching on that is, most of the film, I felt all the color palette and the lighting was all just not drawing attention to itself, but letting the actors, give them the room, as you mentioned. There was one scene in particular that stood out to me, almost in the flip side, where the first time they found out that she's having cancer, or at this point they're thinking that it's just an infection, but the room is just these blue curtains, and it was like a very opposite to the rest of the film. We're wondering what the creative intention was for that scene to break with the color scheme and the art direction.
I mean, I think that is my least favourite shot in the whole film. And it's like, I think the problem with that was we had about half an hour to shoot it, and it was like, end of the day, we had just had to make a decision, and I think it just never quite landed for me, that. It's fine, and you get the information, and it's like emotionally fine, but I just feel like, I agree, it's like it felt a little bit of an outlier visually in terms of the rest of the film, but, what can you do? I don't know, it's there, and, we tried our best. We did some magic in post. Thomas, our excellent colorist, did some, we tried some handheld movement, and it looked a bit weird, and then we were like, maybe we could change this a bit, and you're like, you try it all, and then you're like, it's kind of just, you're battling, but it's fine. It's a quick scene. If it went on for an hour, you'd be like, oh my God, but it's quick.
But what do you do to sort of keep yourself sane because you talked about that scene with the ice skating, and then there was a throwing up scene before.
Yeah.
It's like in the days when you've got two,
So
three
much to do.
location moves. How do you deal with pressure of it?
I mean, I kind of love it, to be honest. Like, I love the like energy of it and like the kind of like absolute immersive like madness of it. Like I'm like addicted to it. I think we all are, aren't we? If you DP, it's like you've got to. Yeah, and it's like, of course, there's a limit. Like, you can't go crazy, but like, I love shooting. Like, I love it, and I don't like being on set and I don't like waiting around. Like, I want to shoot all day, so I don't want to ever not have the camera on my shoulder or be operating it. So it's like always trying to pre-light stuff, always trying to prep stuff, and just like shoot from the minute you're on set and just like get into it and not be like, the thought of like standing around lighting a set for hours for me is like hell on earth.
I think
with loads of people watching you, it's like I just want to shoot and be real, and I love that energy, and it's like keeping that energy going and the whole crew and all the cast are like, it's an amazing experience, but it's exhausting, of course. Like, you get to the evening or the weekend and it's like, you're just absolutely done, so, but it's great.
I think I met somebody who said, I think I met them at Camry Marsh, and I don't know who it was, but they said, I had such an amazing time on a job, on their job, and I spent all day lighting the set, and I was thinking, this is just the worst day.
Yeah.
It would be
Yeah.
And then we achieved one shot, and I thought, oh, this is really sounds very dull.
Yeah. And I think now there's like, you know, if I'm lighting that set for like 10 minutes, people are like, oh, what's going on? You know, people start to, you know, because it's like the expectation on DPs now is such that you can do, because of digital and because obviously we can do so much in the grade and because we're expected to kind of work miracles and operate the camera and light the set. And if there's like longer than 10, 15 minutes shooting something, it's like there's an inquest. And it's like, well, so there was times when it's tricky on this and you're trying to make Florence, I mean, she looks amazing, obviously, but it's like you're trying to like create a nice space and, for them to act in and you're trying to light them nicely and, you know. I mean, the scene where we did the shot through the wall was like, we had about 5 minutes to do that. And there's some...
The one with two of them?
Yeah, and there's like a carpenter with a big saw, and they're like, where do you want me to cut the wall then, mate? And I'm just like,
Was it the last scene? Of
yeah, there's like literally 10 minutes left. He's like, where do you want me to cut the wall then, mate? And I'm like, I don't know, like here? And they're just like, and you're like, oh, no, that doesn't work. And you're like, can you do like another centimetre? And they're like, oh, I don't know about that. And they're like, and you're like, oh no, I've done too much now. I'm like, oh shit, what? But then, I don't know, figured it out. But yeah, you know, it's mayhem. It's mayhem shooting films, isn't it? It's like, it's never, there's a scene where they're throwing like sweets into each other's mouths and it's like, we had 30 seconds to shoot that. And John was like, put the 14mm on now. And it's like, just go handheld, let's just do it. And it's like...
How many hours per day did you shoot?
I can't even remember. But it was never, you know, it was never
Just
overtime.
never enough time.
Never overtime,
I mean,
because you've
yeah.
obviously got Florence and Andrew, and it's like, it costs £10 million if they go into overtime. So you're like bang every day.
I think it's mainly the turnaround time, right?
Yeah.
That's really.
Yeah.
I was told to slowly
Hurry it up.
wrap up. I do have a question. I wanted to, and I'm very proud of that question. How many eggs did you crack making the show?
74.
74. Great. I think it's a beautiful work, Stu.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, everybody that worked on it. There's a few of you there.